Okay, here we go. Today, guys, this what if's name is What If Naruto was dark. Now, I mean dark as if he ain't evil, but he isn't as happy-go-lucky as in canon. He will destroy things that absolutely pisses him off, such as the darkness of Konoha and stuff like that. Things that the normal him and past him would not have looked into. But he will look into them and destroy them. But this what if will not go according to canon clearly. One, Konoha will be destroyed, flat out. There is no sugarcoating this. Konoha is a corrupt place in this what if. So this what if is going to start at a very particular point within the story. So let's start with that. This what if is starting at the tuning again. No, it's going to start a little before, about the mid-academia, but this will only be a quick... We see Naruto getting tortured. But this time something in him snapped. He swore revenge on Konoha, but he also swore he would not become evil. But he did swear revenge. But, as he snapped, something changed him as this desire appeared. As his chakra, out of instinct, formed a sword. It looked like a basic katana, but he heard a name in its head. As he heard a voice in his head, repeat my name. As a mask started to form on his face. It was a mask made out of bone that looked like a fox. It had the red marks on it as well, red lines going across it. It was weird. As he decided to repeat after the voice, he said out loud, "Devour the world with your shadows. Yami no Ishi! Will of Darkness." A.K.A. Because I ain't giving him a sword called the Will of Fire because he believes that doesn't exist, but the Will of Darkness. Something that's dark, but not evil. As when he said that, the sword, what looked to be, almost looked like a normal katana, fully changed. It became a 14-foot long okatana. The blade was black. The guard was a red whirlpool, the Uzumaki clan symbol. He didn't know that at this point, though. The handle was black with a red diamond pattern in the shape of a with a red rope that looked like it was made out of silk. It had nine red strings going off it. In case you're wondering how the fuck a Zanpakuto was formed, simple. When the Kyuubi sensed his container's overwhelming power finally awakened, something the Kyuubi's been wanting for so long. After all, the Kyuubi's, in this story, at least the Kyuubi's served gods. They might have served the Shinto, but the Shinto are still gods. So when the Kyuubi sensed the amount of divine energy flowing off of his container, he looked through his container's bloodline, and he was shocked. He seen a Greek god, Aphrodite, and Chaos, the creator. As he looked through and seen a weird bloodline before he fully became his host's weapon, which was his Zanpakuto, his symbol of power. He knew he was going to become this kid's symbol of power early on, so he was happy, and he was happy about it. After all, he already figured a good weapon name was Yami no Ishi, Will of Darkness, because after all, his Hai no Ishi is Will of Fire. He ain't about that, and he also knew his host wouldn't be for much longer. So he decided on Yami no Ishi as the weapon's name. So, but before this happened, right as his host was getting tortured, he quickly made the bloodline activatable when all of these other abilities kicked in. So his eyes turned violet. So as the blue in his eyes turned violet, what would be normally the black in his eyes turned white and started turn white. He let this out to show his eyes, as the white in his eyes turned black with the mask on. As he looked towards them, as he said out loud, "Devour the world with your darkness. Yami no Ishi." As the blade turned black of his normal katana that became 14 foot long, his guard turned to the Uzumaki whirlpool, the Uzumaki swirl. As I explained to you how the katana looked. He wielded it like it was nothing to him, as he said out loud, as a move appeared in his head, a move he knew would exist. As he said the move's name. Devouring shadows! As what looked to be monsters made out of shadows slowly came out of the shadows and started to devour them easily. As he laughed maliciously, he made sure that his shadows devoured them and left nothing, not even blood on the ground. He never wanted anyone to know he was the killer. As he quickly took off his mask and hid everything. A few months later, he would find Hinata, and as they would slowly break down each other's necks, they would also slowly fall in love with each other. And that's just the background of how they met, and they would end up together. Now, to get to the actual hardcore story. That happened. Now we're gonna skip to the end of the tuning exams when he decided to destroy Konoha with Hinata. They both just flat out destroyed Konoha. I'm not even going to explain the bloody massacre they both caused out of their hatred. Now, we're going to skip a few centuries. The only divines that they're close to are, for one, Hinata's mother, who turned out to be who she was the only Greek demigod of, who was Hera. Yes, Hera is Hinata's mother. She finally, one night, had a single night of passion with, after getting drunk one night and going to the Shinto pantheon, she had a night of passion with, Hera had a night of passion with Yashi after she got drunk. When she woke up, she realized what she did, but she swore not to hate her own child, so she loved her with all of her heart. Now, Naruto's parents, Chaos and Aphrodite. This is what led to Naruto's bloodline. It's simply, how do I say, a mix. A mix of charm speak but she swore never to hate her own child. So yes, Hera did cheat on Zeus one time, and that's what led to her current demigod child. Why? Yeah, you shouldn't even be shocked that. Yeah. So that's what happened. This is what led to her and Hannah only being half siblings, which is another reason why she was so okay with killing her. They were not as close in the world. So, yeah. So they destroyed Konoha. Centuries passed. They both gained titles. Naruto is a golden queen, as her as the lavender queen. They were both by far the two most powerful heroes to ever exist, and they were both immortal. And I'm making this clear why they're both immortal right now. Naruto's a fucking god. He just doesn't have domains. He could bless people with immortality, though. That's what that means. Herm and Hinata got married after in a matter at the end of what would normally be their base life. But they were both immortal at that point, so they didn't give a shit. So yeah, centuries have passed. We're going to skip to the point where Talia was about to try to solo an entire army and fucking fail brutally. As she was about to fucking run and about to get into a giant fight with the mob of monsters, and a golden and lavender flush appeared two people. One had long golden blonde hair, and the other one had dark blue hair. One had 3 whisker marks on each cheek, while the other one had pale lavender skin. One was a tan. One had pale skin, while the other one had a nice tan. One had lavender eyes, while the other one had dark blue. Naruto was wearing some clothes. I have an idea. Naruto was wearing a dark blue coat, long sleeve coat, that went down to his knees that had 2 tails. And by that I mean it was split in 2 at the bottom. It was sleeveless. He also had on his shirt, on the back of that coat had kanji for the Golden King. Had the kanjis for Golden King in gold on the back of that coat. He was also wearing Ambu style pants, steel-toed boots that went up to steel-toed boots with steel-toed boots. He was also wearing
Give the iPhone 15 Pro with titanium from Boost Infinite and share the endless delight of the latest iPhone.
He was also he had a black shirt on. No extra designs there. He was also wearing a headband with the symbol Uzushi Agakor, the Uzushi Agakor symbol. While Hinata is wearing what she wore in Naruto the Last, but with a red coat very similar to his. Wait a minute, I didn't finish Naruto's design. He was wearing 2 armored sleeves that looked like gloves, but without fingers. Two armored sleeves that covered up his entire hand, even his entire arm, even his hand, but it left his fingers uncovered. The sleeves had armor on the back of his hand, up the bottom part of his arm and the upper part. While Hinata was wearing what she wore in Naruto the Last, but had a red coat that had the kanjis for Lavender Queen in lavender on her back. And the exact same design as his, but red in the kanjis in lavender that said Lavender Queen. That's about how they currently look. As Naruto drew his katana and said out loud a single line that made them all fear, as the mask formed on his face and his dojutsu flared to life. As he said out loud, "Devour the world in your darkness. Cover the world in your darkness. Yami no Ishi. Surround the world, cover the world with your darkness. Yami no Ishi." I have already explained what the katana looked like. I'm not re-explaining it. As he said out loud, dance of the blood moon. As he slashes the air a few times, letting out crescent moon-shaped waves of red chakra. After all, it did hold all of the Kyuubi's chakra. After all, this sword was formed out of the Kyuubi's soul. As he started to slash at the enemies and massacre them, when Zeus tried to turn his daughter into a tree, even though she didn't end up almost dying, he stopped it right on the spot as he glared up at this guy. As he said, Zeus, if you do that again, I'll fucking kill you. I'll make you fade. Do you understand? Make lightning crackle twice in the sky if you do. Lightning crackles twice out of fear. After all, even Zeus knew better than to piss this man off. And guys, that's where we're ending the first part.